Hey guys, how's it going? Jen is out here. So, I wanted to make a video talking about contingency contract in Arknights Enfield, because this is something that's been really hyped up, and a lot of players from original Arknights were saying, dude, you gotta play contingency contract, it's so good. It's really beloved in the original, and so Enfield having it is kind of a huge deal for a lot of players. And so I went into this thinking, I don't know, we'll see how it is, because I would say I'm probably one of the biggest haters of gacha endgames in general, because it's just, here's a timer, here's some enemies that are no threat whatsoever to you, just do these rotations or attacks on them, and if you do enough damage you win, if you don't, you lose, and that's it. It's basically just meat shields, right? So I went into contingency contract not fully knowing what to expect, because I know you get to customize your difficulty, but I wasn't really sure. So as you can see, my highest record is 38, and the maximum you can possibly get is 47, I think, right now, but 40 is the max rewards. So overall, I would say this is a pretty difficult mode. This is definitely not easy at all. And I would say some of the difficulty is actually really good and really well designed, and a little bit of the difficulty I think is poorly designed. So let me explain. So you get to choose all these different modifiers. So anything from you have less attributes, or enemies do more damage, or when you apply different debuffs or inflictions on them, they either get like damage resistance or other stuff like that. So all these debilitating debuffs. Then there's like increased or decreased amount of time or increased amount of HP of enemies, which really makes it harder to kill them. This one's insane. You get no dodge at all. You can't dodge against enemies that kill you in like 2 or 3 hits, which is pretty insane. But then, here's where stuff starts to get really crazy, is once you get down to this line. To really get all of the points that you need for 40, you have to start taking things like this, where every single time you use a skill or combo ability, you add a cryo infliction to yourself. And when you have 4 stacks, you freeze yourself. To unfreeze yourself, you have to use something like you choose nature type, electric type, physical type, heat type. So you use a skill from one of your characters or a combo skill to unfreeze yourself. So it adds a lot of complexity. Like, let me just show you if I go in with this team. Now you'll notice that it didn't have, if you use cryo, you're able to remove cryo, which definitely makes it so if you're a cryo user like me, and that's your best team, it makes it a lot harder. So if you look right here, if I use this skill, right above my health bar there, above my skill points, I have 1 cryo infliction, then I have 3, and then I have 4. And I'm frozen for 15 seconds, but if I use Gilberta's skill, I unfreeze myself. So this adds a lot of depth, because in a lot of endgame modes in all these gacha games, you're normally just, I do this same rotation. You're not ever really going to be changing rotation other than I dodge an attack in the middle and then continue the rotation. But with this in the way, it actually completely changes how you're playing the game. Because not only are you managing fighting the enemy in your skill points and like dodging all the attacks correctly, but you're also constantly managing your cryo stacks, and sometimes you'll be like, okay, I just can't use my ability right now. Because if you use your ability, you just freeze and then you're gone, right? But sometimes you can do really pro strats where you know you're going to freeze and you don't have enough skill points, but you have a combo skill available, so you're able to unfreeze yourself, or you're able to use like Gilberta's ult, or in this case, Zaihi, her ult is also able to unfreeze myself and remove debuffs. So that adds so much complexity, and it makes it really fun suddenly managing more things, which I think is a really good design, because the difficulty isn't only, oh, the enemies kill me in 1 or 2 hits and they're really bulky. It's, oh, now I have to manage more resources. I have to be more aware of things going on around me. I think that's really cool. Now, let me talk about something that I think is poorly designed, or that I'm just not really a huge fan of. One is, this mode is very shilled towards a certain playstyle. If you are a dot user, damage over time, with like fire, you are going to have a really easy time compared to other players. People are able to basically just spam Wolfguard's burn, and they're ticking for like 10,000, 15,000 damage burns nonstop. And then they just kind of run around and then just play super safe. Also, the character Estelle, she's one of the 4 stars in the game, she can't be frozen. So a lot of players are playing as Estelle, so that you just are never frozen and you can completely ignore the mechanic, which is actually a cool and smart use of game mechanics. But I think it's a bit ridiculous how much advantage you get using something like Wolfguard with dots, right? Because this mode has an increased damage to dots, but you do less damage with everything else. So I think that's a bit unfortunate. But then now let me address my biggest issue with this mode, and this is one of the biggest problems I have with every single endgame game mode I've ever played in gachas, pretty much. The timer. I just don't really like timers, and I understand why they're there. They're there so you can't just play like a pussy, like running around, not ever engaging with the enemy, and then popping a skill every once in a while. I totally get that, and I think that's understandable. But I think that some of the biggest difficulty doing the high level of this is the timer. Like, I'm totally fine increasing the enemy's health bars plus 200%. That's not a problem. But it makes it literally impossible for me to be able to clear this, at least with my current team. I'm not able to do that. So I'm not really able to do like 47. It wouldn't ever be possible for me, because not only would I have to increase the time, but also increase the health bar. And then let's not even talk about no dodge. I think the idea of no dodge, by the way, is a really great concept, but I would almost rather enemies kill me in one hit than, oh, now I only have 600 seconds to clear it rather than 800 seconds, because the timing is really tight and this mode is so difficult already that it almost feels as though the timer is adding an extra pressure on you that isn't really needed, because original Arknights is a tower defense, so you would never have to deal with something like a timer. It's literally just, you either blocked all the enemies from reaching your base or you didn't and you lost, right? So it's a totally different type of strategy, right? But in these styles of game modes, there's so much, oh, I can just run around and not engage with the enemy, that they add in the timers. But I would rather either you get more punished for getting hit, or the enemies like slowly speed up as you're not engaging them. Like, maybe you are being punished, you're getting like slower, or they're getting faster for you not engaging with the enemy. So that there's a different type of punishment, but it's not just literally like, oh, you didn't perfectly kill this quick enough, so now you lose. But other than that one gripe, and that's something that I just am not a fan of in any modes, that's just me, some people are fine with it, I would say this mode is surprisingly good. It's very frustrating, it's very annoying, but it's fun, and it's a challenge where you go, oh, I really want to overcome this, I know that I can do this, if I'm just a little faster here, a little smarter here, manage the cryo stacks better, then I'm actually able to do this. And I think that's a great feeling, because that's something that's missing from Arknights Enfield, pretty much, is they've made a couple of little endgame game modes, but they're really easy. They've always been super simple. I was able to solo them with Tong Tong. Like, that's a little bit ridiculous, don't you think? I hope that they don't really shill certain teams in the future, though, and add more, like, play styles that you can go about, because this entire mode right now, the enemies are resistant to cryo just because of their enemy type. You can't get rid of the cryo stacks on yourself using cryo skills, you're punished with that as well. And then, that insult to injury, they have this thing where if you want to really get maximum difficulty, where enemies heal 15% of their max health per second if they are crowd controlled, so good luck ever doing that with an ice team. But let me just show you a quick little bit of the gameplay and how it feels, because you definitely are learning rotations for each individual wave of the enemies, which I think is really cool. Like, I know, oh, I immediately want to use this skill right here and start my basic attacks, land this, go into that, immediately use these skills. You see I have 3 cryo stacks, right? So now I have to really be careful and manage these cryo stacks, so I can't use anything else right now until I get enough. Then I was able to remove it instantly by using the Gilberta skill. There's a lot of strategy there with it. You don't always want to use your skills on cooldown when you normally would want to utilize them. You have to manage so many more resources suddenly. And it's a really fun interaction, I think. I would definitely like to see more of this style in games where, where there's just a lot more going on. That whole time I was having to hold my skill and just wait so that I didn't just freeze myself and die. But as you can see, the enemies are pretty bulky, and you have 4 total waves of enemies you have to clear through. There's like 2 groupings of enemies per wave, which obviously makes it more difficult. Look, I can unfreeze myself right here by using Gilberto ult. So you can have a little bit of get out of jail free cards if you really need to. Now, obviously, this is taking me too long, and this wouldn't really be that fast of a clear, but I think you guys kind of get the gist of it. Look, I can cleanse with Zyke as well. It's cool that there's a little bit of strategy there with the team building. But as you can see, pretty bulky enemies. The timer ticking down. That took me like a whole minute to clear that overall easy wave. And if I removed 200 seconds by the time I'm fighting the bosses, I'm going to run out of time and have a lot of difficulty. But yeah, I think that Enfield actually made their game mode surprisingly good. Also, the song is a giga banger. It feels like when you're fighting the enemies, it's like AMV or something is playing. Like, it has this crazy rock music going on, and you're like, oh, this is actually kind of sick. This is really hype. I think that's a great feeling, and they did a great job with that. Finally, Arknights Enfield is making some much more hype music, because I think original Arknights, God tier music, some of the best OST easily out of any gacha game. But Enfield hasn't really felt like it had any of that. It kind of felt like most of the music was really forgettable and you didn't really notice it. So I think they finally did a great job with the music, and I would love to see more of this. I know they're different teams, but still. All in all, solid game mode, pretty fun. The difficulty is really high, and I think most players are not going to be getting 40 out of 40. I'm probably going to build a whole separate team just so I'm able to clear this easier, because I don't think my cryo team is going to be able to do this, at least not at my current skill level. I know that someone who's way better than me has been attempting this for like 10 hours with a cryo team, getting 40 out of 40, and it's rough. You gotta be really good to do this with the cryo teams, I think. But overall, I think they did a good job. Keep it up, Enfield. I got a lot of work ahead of me to be able to farm this stuff, but thanks a bunch for watching this video, and I hope to see you next time.